In the annals of human history, there are moments when the din of war is stilled by the quiet power of humanity. One such moment occurred during the harsh winter of 1914 on the desolate battlefields of the First World War. The event, now known as the Christmas Truce, stands as a testament to the indomitable spirit of compassion and fraternity amidst the unrelenting machinery of conflict. Christmas Truce, the silent night that made World War I pause. By December of 1914, the Great War had raged for 5 months. The Western Front stretched hundreds of miles, a grim tapestry of trenches, barbed wire, and cratered earth. Soldiers on both sides were trapped in a brutal stalemate, enduring endless shell fire, freezing temperatures, and the omnipresent specter of death. In such an environment, one might assume that hope and humanity had been smothered entirely. Yet, as Christmas approached, faint whispers of a truce began to circulate among the ranks. The trenches were a paradoxical world. On the one hand, they were places of unimaginable hardship, where rats feasted on the dead and frostbite claimed fingers and toes. On the other, they offered a strange intimacy. The enemy was often so close that soldiers could hear their voices or smell their cooking. It was this proximity that would lay the groundwork for an extraordinary moment in history. The truce began, not with grand proclamations, but with simple gestures. In some sectors, German soldiers decorated their trenches with candles and makeshift Christmas trees, their soft glow cutting through the night like a fragile beacon. Others sang carols, their voices carrying across no man's land. The haunting strains of Stille Nacht reached the ears of British soldiers, who responded with their own rendition of Silent Night. The power of music transcended the barbed wire and language barriers. It was as if, for a brief moment, the war had no power to divide. The courage to sing led to the courage to speak, and soon soldiers were calling out holiday greetings to one another. A few ventured into the open, their hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. What began as isolated acts of goodwill soon spread along the front, like the light of a candle passed from one to another. On Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, soldiers from both sides emerged cautiously from their trenches. No man's land, that perilous expanse of mud and wire where countless lives had been lost, was transformed into an unlikely meeting ground. There, enemies became comrades, if only for a day. They exchanged small gifts, tins of food, tobacco, and trinkets. Some shared photographs of loved ones, while others swapped buttons or badges as souvenirs. Stories were told, laughter erupted, and in some places, impromptu games of football broke out. Though the truce was unofficial and varied from sector to sector, its spirit was universal. It was a moment of humanity that defied the orders of superiors and the logic of war. One British soldier wrote in his diary, "Here we were, laughing and chatting to men whom only hours before we were trying to kill." For many, the experience was surreal, a fleeting dream in the nightmare of war. Yet, it was also profoundly real, a reminder of the shared humanity that lay beneath the uniforms and rifles. The truce was not without its complexities and limitations. In some areas, the fighting continued unabated. Elsewhere, officers on both sides sought to suppress the spontaneous ceasefire, fearing it would undermine discipline and the will to fight. And of course, the truce was temporary. As the final notes of carols faded and the holiday passed, the soldiers returned to their trenches, their rifles, and the grim reality of war. Yet the memory of that silent night endured. For those who experienced it, the truce was a powerful counterpoint to the narrative of hatred and enmity that had fueled the war. It was proof that even in the darkest of times, the light of humanity could shine through. The Christmas Truce of 1914 has since become one of the most poignant episodes of the First World War, a symbol of hope and the potential for peace. Its legacy has been preserved in letters, diaries, and photographs, as well as in literature, music, and film. It is a story that continues to resonate, offering lessons for a world still grappling with conflict. What made the truce possible? Perhaps it was the shared cultural significance of Christmas, a time of peace and goodwill. Perhaps it was the proximity of the soldiers, who could no longer see each other as faceless enemies. Or perhaps it was simply the irrepressible human need for connection, even in the face of dehumanizing violence. The truce challenges us to imagine a world where such moments of understanding and empathy are not exceptions, but the rule. Its enduring legacy encourages reflection on the nature of conflict and the ways we might overcome it. While the Christmas truce was not a panacea for the war, it brought temporary solace to weary soldiers and planted seeds of hope. Historians have debated the significance of this event, questioning whether it was a genuine expression of goodwill or simply a pragmatic ceasefire driven by convenience. However, the soldiers' accounts paint a vivid picture of genuine camaraderie and a yearning for peace. In one sector, a Scottish soldier recounted how he and his comrades shared whiskey with their German counterparts. In another, a French officer observed how young soldiers, barely out of boyhood, exchanged letters and promised to write to one another after the war. These anecdotes illuminate the human dimensions of the truce, turning faceless combatants into individuals with dreams, fears, and families waiting for them at home. As the war continued, some soldiers who had participated in the truce found themselves haunted by the memory. How could they reconcile the shared laughter in no man's land with the violence that resumed? This question remains pertinent for modern audiences, inviting us to reflect on the cyclical nature of conflict and the choices that sustain or disrupt it. The guns would roar again, and the war would drag on for 4 more years, claiming millions of lives. Yet, the story of the Christmas truce endures, not as a tale of victory or defeat, but as a beacon of hope. It is a reminder that even amidst the horrors of war, the human spirit can find a way to assert itself. As we reflect on that extraordinary night in 1914, let us also look to the present and the future, seeking ways to build bridges where there are walls and to sing songs of peace where there is silence. In doing so, we honor the memory of those who, for one brief moment, showed the world what peace could look like. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution.